Hello, Mike. Go. Hello, everyone. Hope you had a good week. It's another installment of Ask Kumu. And if you recall, the last couple weeks we've been dealing with a multi-part question. And this had to do with the roles and responsibilities of the various selves, the identities of the Ho'oponopono process that Aunty Morrnah Nalamaku Simeona has shared with us. And so for those of you that may be joining us the first time, our last 2 weeks, we talked about the identities of Aumakua and Uhane. Aumakua being the higher self or the father self in the triune family that identifies the internal relationships between mind, body, and spirit. The mother self is the Uhane. We talked about her and her responsibilities to care for and guide the Unihipili, the child, last week. While Aumakua, of course, was the guide and caretaker of the entire family and represents the connection to divinity at all times. So today, the third member of the triune family, we'll be talking about Unihipili. Again, Unihipili. And in this case, the Unihipili represents that child relationship in the triune family, the inner mind, the inner family. And so its roles and responsibilities is where we'll be exploring today. So in this case, the Unihipili, also known as the lower self, the physical and the emotional mind, that part of us that serves as the computer memory, if you would, that place where memory is stored. And in this case, the memory being the ultimate source of whatever pilikia that we may be experiencing that will inspire us to do Ho'oponopono for the purpose of making things right. So Unihipili is the lower self or the child mind. Right? So you have the higher self, the middle self, and the lower self. Aumakua, Uhane, and Unihipili. You have the spiritual mind, the mental mind, and now the subconscious, physical, emotional mind. Unihipili. And it is in this subconscious mind that the memories through all time are stored. And if you recall, we spoke last time that those memories are planted there and left there by the influences and inspiration of Mother, Uhane. That's just one source. Whatever Mother sees, touches, tastes, hears, smells, listens to, all that, that's feeding Unihipili. And everything Unihipili hears, the child hears from its mother's mouth, smells from her nose, anything that she stimulates the subconscious child mind, it remembers. Why? Because it's a gift from mom. And we now know that if the relationship for Uhane and Unihipili is one of love, then Unihipili translates all of that as love and accepts it, saves it, and says, well, Mama gave this to me, so I better keep it. One day it'll come in handy. And so it is this source, these memories, the computer memory, the memory bank. While the Uhane, the mother, is the programmer. Could say it that way. The programmer programming the memory. And so there's these memories in the same way that any computer works, where you trigger, hit the keys, or now today voice command, will stimulate, trigger, and release the memory. Now the memory may come with a video. The memory may come with dialogue. The memory may come with text. So the Unihipili carries memory, and Someone can say something. You can smell something. You may taste something, which pushes the button, stimulates the memory, and releases an emotion. Or the other way around, the emotion may trigger the memory, but they're connected. So, for instance, you see someone who reminds you, triggers the subconscious memory of an incident when you were very tiny, a small child, and someone came in the room and startled you and you got scared and frightened. Now, what you don't consciously remember, perhaps what that person actually looked like. But what you remember is that they were wearing a particular shirt with a particular color, or you smelled a particular cologne, or there may have been food cooking and you smelled that food and you've associated that food with that experience, and your Unihipili remembers that. So one day you could be at a restaurant and you see someone wearing clothes very similar to that of the person that frightened you. And then you smell the food that's cooking. And it too triggers the memory. So now you have two things happening. And the next thing you know, you're shaking in your boots. Or you might be frightened. Or all of a sudden your tummy gets upset and you don't feel like eating. You feel like you need to go home. You don't understand why, but all of a sudden you don't feel good. Memory. Now, in contemporary science or psychology, they might call this the somatic. The body is responding to the psychosomatic response. Well, yeah, pretty much. That's the concept. That your body has remembered something and your mind is now seeing it or experiencing it through your eyes, touch, smell, and everything. Whatever those senses might be. Remember, we're sensual beings. And the next thing you know, you're having a reaction. So Unihipili is critical because it is the computer. It is the child that receives everything. And more importantly, it doesn't distinguish between what is fanciful, falseful. It just accepts everything as being real. Why? Because mother gave it to Unihipili. Well, mother's looking at it, it must be okay. If mother is hearing it, it must be okay. Because the relationship with Unihipili and Uhane, the mother, is one of trust and love. So that's one of the relationships, is to be the receptacle, the receiver of these memories. Now the other part is to also be the receiver of new memory and being able to release that. And that's the relationship with Aumakua. So in the Ho'oponopono process, Uhane speaks to Unihipili and says, hey, come, let's join together as a unit of two, mother and child. Please forgive me for whatever I've done, but we have pilikia, we have a trouble, we have some discord, dis-ease, disorder we need to remedy. So, as your mother, please forgive me, I love you. And thank you for letting me. So now, interesting, you may have heard those terms before. That's kind of where those mantradic or mantras have come from, which, by the way, Aunty Morrnah said, Aale, you don't use those. It's not about the mantra, it's about the cleansing, the relationship between Uhane and Unihipili. Please forgive me, Unihipili, for neglecting you. Please forgive me for placing these burdens, anxieties, anger, fear, whatever it is in you over time, unconsciously. This is the conscious mind speaking to the subconscious mind, saying, unconsciously, I made this pilikia for you. So, hey, kalamayaw, I'm sorry. So that's where those four phrases come from. from the Uhane talking to the Unihipili. Now the Unihipili opens a pepeao and listens, huh? What? Okay, so mother says, let's get together, let's fix this. Where are we going next? So as a unit of two, the Uhane and Unihipili then call upon Aumakua. And Aumakua then communicates and unifies. So they unify as a singular family, the unified family, the triune family. And then they seek out assistance, guidance, direction from who? Divinity. The I am, the E, God, the creative forces, creative nature of all things. The grand mediator, the one. So Unihipili and Aumakua, they begin to talk story. And at the request of the family, Aumakua then places the entire family before divinity and says, Akua, ke akua, we have pilikia. And we would like to release these old memories so we can get rid of the pilikia. And it is in this process of Ho'oponopono that occurs. And now divinity can say, okay, I erase this and I replace this. Get rid of this memory, put in a new memory or a new idea, concept. So whatever has been a barrier or obstacle to you in these old memories, we know, oki, mihi, cut, let go. So that you can do different things. So in that same story earlier, you know the man that scared you when you're kiki size. Whatever they're wearing, if you see it again, you're not triggered. You know that fragrance they're wearing, you smell it, you're not triggered. The music that you heard, or the smells, the food you smelled, you can smell it, not triggered. In fact, you might even wear the clothes while you eat the food, listening to the music, and not be triggered. See, powerful, yeah? So Unihipili is the keeper then of the secrets. It's within the Unihipili. But you also heard me say the emotional and physical mind. The physical emotion, to emote, to move, it's a physical activity. Therefore, it is in the physical body. So any ailment, any pilikia in the body, misvibration is inside the body. So an emotion is a feeling, not a thought. Can be triggered by a thought, but it's a feeling. And if it's a feeling, therefore it's in the body. So therefore it is the physical mind and the emotional mind. And so when we're triggered by a sound heard by the body, the emotion comes up and is felt by the body. And then based on the criteria that we've applied all of our lives to the response, we may run, we may hide, we may cry, we may scream, we may fight, we'll do any of those things, but we must know and understand that that's where it's coming from. The memory has been triggered by some stimulus. In the absence of that memory, removed by the process, divinity, no more stimulus. The sound, the taste, the sight, all that no longer has any effect. Not because you changed the sound, you didn't turn the radio off. And not because you made somebody wear something that they didn't want to wear. You're not changing anybody or anything outside of you. What we're changing is inside of us, the inside job. So Unihipili then shifts and adjusts. The memory is erased, it is altered, it is released, it is cleansed. That's why it's Ho'oponopono cleansing, not Ho'oponopono mantra. Aunty Morrnah never said mantra. Cleansing. And so in the process of cleansing and removing and releasing, the source of the problem itself, which is the memory, then the symptoms can go too. Now the challenge is a lot of us react to symptoms and we want to treat symptoms. But the Ho'oponopono process says, let's remove the problem, which is the memory. Yeah, Maupopo, understand? Good, because that's where it comes from. So when we can release that, then we can go about our lives. Release the obstacles, the barriers, so we can be in the right place for our good and for the good of others. To achieve our purpose and to help others achieve theirs. Unihipili, the keeper of the secrets. Okay, that's part of it. So obviously there's so much more. That's the family. Aumakua, Uhane, and today Unihipili. And when they are aligned, that is Pono. All right, till next time, send in those questions. Aloha ahueo, mahalo mapono. Heo.